Are you worried that LASIEC may have walked into legal landmines that may affect your victory at the polls?
No, not at all.
Do you know why I asked that question?
Yeah.
Do you know why I asked that question?
Yes.
Do you know the reason why the local government election in Rivers State was cancelled? I'll tell you. Section 153, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act was one of the biggest premises, which says that whatever elections are conducted as it is done in the FCC has to be done same with what is done in the local government areas across Nigeria. Subsection 3 of that Electoral Act says, if any commission in any state doesn't do it according to section 1 of 150, that election will be invalid. That's why I'm asking. Because issues around timetable when it was released, issues around number of days before the tenure of the end of the people on the seat, issues other than plus these ancillary issues. So I just gave you a background to say, are you worried about your victory?
We are not worried. Let me repeat, I'm not holding brief for LASIEC, but we are aware of those timelines about when the guidelines for the election should be released, the number of days, I mean, before the expiration of the current tenure of those who left office. We're aware of all those timetable. I also need to put it on record that if there were hiccups here and there, they affected all the participating parties. If polling booths were moved, it also means that the supporters of all the parties, as it were, will be confused about where to go. And really, the opposition party is speaking to all issues, LASIEC, APC, and everything. They're not speaking to their internal rankings. They're not speaking about the confusion they would have caused. There are very few supporters of which party, which faction of Labour Party to vote for, or maybe ADC, dividing votes that were not enough among parties that are virtually existing only on papers. These are the issues they should rather address and put their house in order. They have never won an election. I guess the only election accepted to them was when Labour Party recorded the final victory in the presidential election. That was supposed to be fair and fair, but every other election was rigged. They need to look inwards to put their house in order to have any chance of tasting victory in Lagos. It's as simple as that.
So let me be clear. You are also saying that in terms of the timeline and some of those, requirements for conducting an election, LASIEC didn't meet the standard.
They did. They did. Look,
no, you just said that you were also affected by the things.
No, I said if polling booths were moved from where they were supposed to be.
Were they moved for you? Did you see any of the polling units?
The opposition, that was in the realm of the opposition. They kept saying polling booths were moved. And
so none moved. You didn't notice any? Not
to my knowledge. We didn't get any such reports. The reports we had from our on-field workers spoke to materials arriving late in a number of polling booths. And if materials arrive late in just a handful of polling booths, would that be enough to discredit the process?
You didn't get reports of logos, your logos not being on
the Not to our knowledge. And that's not our business because our logo was there. So it's not our business to start looking for the logo of other parties.
So were your logos missing? Or any other party's logo missing?
Yes. Ours in Accord weren't missing, but several parties' logo were missing.
Like
APP, YPP, and,
on the ballot paper.
On the ballot paper.
Is it a function that they probably didn't, maybe it was councillorship ballot or a chairmanship ballot?
Like I said earlier, is a systematic rigging. Normally in the general election, even where you have constituency where you have maybe 5 parties contesting that constituency, INEC will list every party's logo.
Whether or not they're on the ballot.
You understand? But in the case of LASIEC now, they now start to have 2 parties on this constituency, 3 there, 4 there. Even they themselves admitted they have errors. Where they realized party logos were missing, where those parties field candidates. They admitted it. They told us it's an error. When we asked them, give us official communication, a letter, they will not. They would rather call you and they start begging.
So they called you to say it's an error?
They called some of our party chairmen. You know, we don't have those missing logo. But the party chairmen that have those missing logo, they called them and they were begging.
The gentleman was already speaking for parties that are not.
Yes, I'm representing
His was not missing.
No, there's IPAC. And I think the
APC
is meant to be
We're also part of IPAC.
And you mentioned something.
Do you check the WhatsApp messages on IPAC?
Of course, we're also part of IPAC. We're a major stakeholder in IPAC.
Did you see these concerns? Did you see these concerns on the IPAC group?
Look, let me tell you, the opposition is known to cry wolves where there are none. And it's just their refrain to discredit the process.
What is even more disturbing to me, both of you I want to ask, and then maybe him, because you're the victor here, nobody wants a distortion of the polity, as is mentioned. It's even worrying that there's a constitution and there's an electoral act, and it looks like LASIEC, which we will hope they will come here someday, is walking into simple electoral landmines that should have been avoided.
No, this still remains in the realm of mere allegations. Let me say that. Until proven.
Let me be clear. Balarabe Musa versus INEC, according to what LASIEC wrote to EIE, enough is enough, saying Section 103.
You meant INEC, not LASIEC?
LASIEC wrote to EIE,
okay,
saying that Section 103 that they've raised, according to 150 before the expiration and 30 days before the election, which is supposed to be, they are saying that applies only to the FCT. There is a misinterpretation of the law. But Section 150 says whatever is done with the FCT polls has the same force and equal power, such that if you don't do it that way, by subsection 3 of that same law, that election can be invalidated. And I quoted to you Yamama, the Supreme Court Justice, that read the lead judgment in APC versus Rivers State election, cancelled an entire election based on this premise. So I'm asking what the political parties are doing about simple electoral guidelines. Let me talk to you first.
For starters, the LASIEC body in Lagos State is headed by a retired judge of the High Court of the state. So as far as the law is concerned, I believe she knows her onions. We were held at the Stakeholders Forum, and these issues were never raised. And that was the meeting.
No, they were raised. EIE raised it. I'm just giving you.
I was there. I was there at the meeting with LASIEC, presided over by the chairman of LASIEC with all the.
Maybe at that forum it wasn't raised, but I just told you where it was raised.
We didn't have the issue of the timeline. We didn't have those issues of the timeline. And you know what? When these issues arise, they're not issues meant for rhetorics in the media.
I have quoted 2 Supreme Court judgments. I've quoted 2 provisions of the Electoral Act. I could ask the Constitution.
The timeline, you can quote me on this, will follow according to the law.
I think you should appoint yourself with the Electoral Act with the greatest sense of respect. Let's come to you.
Actually,